So the first terrorist that you found was Yahya Sinwar. Anything can be booby trap. From anywhere you have shafts that people can come out from and shoot RPG at you. It's time for us to stop giving a damn about what the world thinks. You don't want your people to get killed? Don't mess with us.
Welcome to Heroes of Zion, where we bring the real voices from Israel's front lines so you can understand what is happening on the ground, beyond the headlines and beyond the noise. I'm John Legarda, and since October 7th, I've been on a mission to defend truth, strengthen Jewish and Israeli pride, and share the reality that too often gets overwhelmed by all of the misinformation. Today's guest is Hanan Tal. He's part of a combat observation and recon unit of Division 162, the tip of the spear of the advancement of the IDF inside of Gaza, who at age 45 volunteered on October 8th to go fight for Israel in the front lines. He fought all over Gaza, from Shati, Jabalia, Rafat al-Sultan, among other places, found hostages, and was the closest man to Yahya Sinwar when he was eliminated. While he is still serving, he opened a project where every single Tuesday he has a mass barbecue for wounded soldiers. He brought us a first-hand look into the reality of Hamas's Gaza, from maneuvering through buildings who were built with explosives inside of the walls, the wealth and corruption of Hamas's higher ranks, how they terrorize their own people, and how the day after should look with Gaza, Judea and Samaria, Lebanon, and even Syria. If you believe in truth, be part of this mission and share this episode. And if you want to help me keep these voices alive, you'll find ways to support this project in the description below. And without further ado, let's dive in. So you told me that you volunteered on October 8th, a day after what happened.
No, I was I was in a WhatsApp group with a few other reserve army friends, and on October 7th, I didn't really understood what happened. You know, we all understood there was an invasion on the south side, but nobody understood the scale and the cruelty of what happened just many months later, many weeks, you can say. And I remember I told you that, but I remember coming back from Gaza. I believe it was we entered on October 20th, around 25th maybe. There was the invasion from the north side. And we were the first troop. The dark unit of 551, they dropped us in the middle of the night around Bet Hanun, Bet Lahiya. And I remember 3 weeks later, maybe 1 month later, was the first time that we were allowed to go out. And I took my car and I drove back home to my parents.
So for 3 months, you didn't know the scale of what happened. You didn't have any contact with outside.
And I remember hearing on the radio the stories that what happened on October 7th. And I was in shock, you know, no matter what we did inside, and we did a lot inside. You say to yourself, how did I not went on October 7th to the Gaza border? We didn't know. If you're not really connected to Shin Bet, to the military, to people that live there, you didn't know what's going on there. You didn't know that people lost control, you know? So October 7th, I on the Miluim group, on the reserve army group, I said, yeah, I would come. If you open the unit and you can recruit me, I will come. And they recruited me on October 8th. And yeah, October 9th, we were already drafted. They took our phones and we started training and got in 10 days later.
That's insane. I mean, we are almost 2 years after October 7th and we're still trying to find the details. But I remember somebody who was watching the news, I think in the night of October 7th, they said that a few dozen people were murdered, and maybe we had hostages. I mean, in the night of October 7th, we had no idea nobody knew the scale. Weeks passed. I think we had terrorists up until 5 days later inside of Israel. It was chaos. They caught us with our pants down, and it was chaos. So you had no contact with the outside, or just no time to talk about until you were released from the first round?
Well, as soon as they draft us, they took out our phones, because what I understood, that was a lot of cyber breached, and many olarim, many phones, cell phones, but military cell phones were stolen. A lot, more than 100.
On October 7th?
On October 7th. They took a lot of equipment, very sensitive equipment, that nobody knew what they know, what they listen to, if it's something that has been breached, because you have...
Can you explain what is the Olar?
Olar is like it's like a smartphone. It looks like a smartphone, but it's encrypted, and it has the movement of all the forces on the map, and you know where each force is positioned on a certain time.
So you couldn't use those anymore.
You couldn't use anything anymore. So all the equipment, and you have even more encrypted information that goes live on a minute basis. It's Mesua. Mesua is like a big tablet,
Yeah. So that's all we had.
So yeah, Olar is like a small one that you have in a pocket. This is why they call it Olar. They have a meaning to it, but
it's the new Vered.
What?
It's the new Vered.
The new Vered, yeah. And so they had all that equipment. They stole it from Israel, and we didn't know what they had. So first of all, they took all our cell phones. So we're not able to communicate what we are training to do, and where is the invasion, and when is the invasion going to take place. They were afraid that they're going to tell us, okay, we're going to go in on October 20th. And then someone tell the family, and someone listening in Gaza. So they were really afraid of that. So we had a serious bomb, as they say in Bitachon Meida, at that time. So nobody knew much, and nobody could tell much. And more than that, we did some misinformation. So we said, we're going to enter on this day from this area, and you can tell everybody. And, and that day comes and nothing happens. And we checked what's going on inside, if they heard about it, if they were preparing to do something. And then we did another misinformation. So you send
a misinformed message and try to check how they maneuver and how they prepare for...
Yeah, if they listen to us, who is listening to us.
That's genius.
Yeah, there were many things that we were told before entering Gaza.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of Russian speaking in the radio on the day of the invasion. I didn't know that as well.
Where did the Russian come from?
Don't know. Maybe Russian trainees that came to train. Nobody knows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We still don't know.
Well, we still don't know. Well, maybe few people know.
But not us.
Yeah, that's...
So you entered Gaza. I mean, right now we're seeing the images of Gaza as the amount of destruction and rubble is immense. And you entered Gaza after airstrikes started to prepare for the ground invasion. But you entered Gaza before it was this amount of destruction. How was maneuvering inside of Gaza? Because from what we know, Hamas embeds itself in civilian infrastructure like no other terrorist group does. So can you explain to me how it was to maneuver inside of Gaza as a combat unit in this kind of battlefield?
Yeah, the forces, where we stepped in Gaza, it was stepped on for the first time. There were airstrikes for, I think, 10 days, 10 straight days, maybe more. And then they sent it in only armed vehicle. So D9s, tanks, Tigers, not even M131, the Nagmash, not even them, because they are not armed for anti-tank missiles.
The Nagash is not
Nagmash,
for anti-tank.
They're not.
Right. Yeah.
So they're from aluminum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have the Vaizata, which Vaizata is like the net with the holes on the outside that's supposed to stop a 7.62 bullet, because the aluminum itself will not.
Yeah.
So no armed vehicle was allowed to get into Gaza. So they got the armed vehicles inside Gaza. And then they dropped us in by foot. So they drove really fast during the night. The dark unit is a unit that they call it dark unit because it goes in the dark. יחידה חשוכה.
Okay.
And it's a part of 551. It's made out of warriors from special forces. Very, very diverse special forces. So you can have all kind of units over there.
It's a reserve unit?
I think, yeah, most of them were reserve. I knew a few, so I know they are a reserve. But yeah, and from different units. I cannot say the names of the unit, but different units. Yeah, special forces, the best you can imagine. And they have different kind of vehicles. So you have vehicles that you know about, and new vehicles that you don't know about, and vehicles that you see for the first time. And the idea is that they drive only night vision. The engines they make sounds that you can barely hear it. Big tires, they can drive really fast everywhere, doesn't matter. And then in the middle of the way to, I think, El Atata, which was maybe the northern side of El Atata. In the middle of the way, we had to stop. We had to take off the vehicles and wait in an ambush. And there was a firefight. Anyway, and then we went on the vehicles and went into the El Atatra, the northern side of El Atatra, took off the vehicles and looked for the building that we were supposed to conquer and be there for the night.
Every time you were ambushed, you were supposed to get out of the vehicles to tackle the ambush?
You cannot stay in the vehicle because they will fire at the vehicle, and that will be more dangerous. So you take off the vehicle and you spread around the vehicle like a sun, like horns, and each one take mashpechei yeri, which is you take a certain amount of area that you know that you cover, and the guy next to you take from this point to that point. So you have everything is night vision. You cannot work without night vision. So you either have night vision on your rifle, or either you have it on your eyes. So.
And this is inside of the neighborhoods. They were waiting for you inside the neighborhoods, not in open fields.
Well, in the beginning, we didn't get into the neighborhood, not with those cars. Mm-hmm. So you get as close as you can to the neighborhood, on an open field, and then from there you walk to the neighborhood and you arrive to the first buildings, and then you conquer them. And from then on, what's going on is that at first you have the D9s. They open the roads for us. Behind the D9, you have the tanks that they will fire probably to the first floor, or if they'll see something that is a threat, they will fire. And then there is us by foot with 30, 40 kilos on your back. Sometimes it depends how strong you are. And you walk on sandy beaches, so your legs go all the way to the knee sometime in the sand. So it's really hard to maneuver by foot over there. And then you get into a building, you take off your bag, and then you enter the building and you open the house. So you see first floor, clean, and then you go to the second floor, then you go to the third floor, you declare the clean, you look for things that are related to hostages. You look for things that are related to shafts or tunnels that might lead to the metro system. And then you clean that area.
The metro system meaning the tunnels.
The underground, yeah. Well, the tunnels divide in two, so you can look at it as small creeks that goes from a mountain to this big river that goes underneath. So you have many, many creeks that goes into that big river. And we found a lot of them in Jabalia, that you find like small shafts that lead to a small tunnel. But if you go with that tunnel, you will get to the metro. And the metro is a huge tunnel that you can sometimes drive inside it for miles underneath the ground, tens of meters underneath the ground.
In how many of the buildings did you find? I mean, Jabalia, as we know, is a refugee camp, it's a neighborhood. In how many of the buildings do you actually find these shafts?
Well, you find them sometime in very close neighborhoods. You can find 10 buildings in an area of a square kilometer, that this building and the building next to it and the one across the street, they all have shafts, and it all leads down to these tunnels. So you can go on a street and you can see a tunnel, and 50 meters afterwards, you can see another tunnel, and 50 meters afterwards, another tunnel, and it's in asymmetrical. It's not like each building has in a certain point, somewhere you can find behind the building, somewhere on the first floor. It's amazing how they do it. It's not something that you can say they have a pattern, that you follow that pattern and you find the tunnels. It's really unexpected.
So they broke the pattern to confuse.
I don't think they made it in that sophisticated way. They just found places that were comfortable to dig and you cannot see them from the sky, and they did it.
Yeah. So it's very chaotic.
Very chaotic. Not organized. The building themselves were not organized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not fighting. I mean, we're talking about Jabalia, we're talking about buildings. When you say buildings, you mean civilian buildings. You're not trying to go fight them in bases. Like, for example, on October 7th, they came into Israel and they fought first in the bases and then in the kibbutzim. Are there bases that you go to in Gaza, or are they waiting? Is most of the fighting in these neighborhoods?
Well, there are fighting compounds, and there is one very famous fighting compound named Fortress 17. Back in the days of Yasser Arafat, they established a force named Force 17. It was like a commando unit, like their special forces. And it's like a fortress surrounded by a neighborhood, civilian neighborhood. So you go, you see like two connected football fields surrounded by walls and towers that guard it. And around it, these are civilian buildings, like a neighborhood from all four sides. And that's somewhere between the southwest side of Jabalia to the east-west of Shati refugee camp. And we were the first one to actually conquer it. So that is the last army fortress of Hamas in the north side of the Gaza Strip. And there were forces that went around it or through it or to get to Shifa Hospital as soon as they could, and they were fired at. So we were commanded to go there and just conquer it. Get there with tanks and forces and follow a building by a building, a shaft by shaft. And we found a lot of intel over there that helped us understand the metro system, the underground tunnel. But you know, one of our battles that cost us a lot of blood was in the first row of the building in front of that fortress, in front of Fortress 17. We got there on November 8th, so a month plus day from October 7th. Mm-hmm. And when we got there, we were the first one to get to that fortress, and we got to the first building, neighbor civilian building. And we went cleaning the first floor, putting the team over there, and then going to the second floor, cleaning it from seeing that everything is vacant, and then going to the third floor. We put our gear on the third floor, and as soon as we do that, we get shot from 3 directions. So we got a sniper shooting at us from one direction, an RPG.
From the fortress?
Yeah, from the fortress. An RPG shot towards our building. It actually hit the third floor, and the ceiling of the third floor dropped on the second floor. So you couldn't really go through to the third floor, and we had a lot of equipment there. And then from the building next to us, and the difference there between buildings, not like here that you have room. It's not like you have the 2 meters, like 6 foot between you and the next 4-story building between it. So you can see the window, like, you can see what's going on in the next room. That's how close they are. And from
they were also fighting from the other building.
And
not
from
just the
that
fortress.
building, they had a shaft that led to a tunnel that came from Fortress 17, and they came out from there, and they fought us from a close range battle. It was they were 5 meters from us.
So from their biggest fortress, they have shafts and tunnels that lead to these civilian buildings just around them?
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, we hear the stories and we see, but it's amazing to see the scale of this thing. Back when I was in the army in 2012, it was Amud Anan, and we were preparing to go into Gaza, and people who were inside Gaza before told us also about how they booby trap things in neighborhoods and the buildings. First of all, they told us every single building could be booby trapped, but also if you see a trash can, if you see the body of a dog, anything.
See a red fabric.
What do you mean red fabric?
So the intelligence told us that if you have red fabric on a building, so it can be a red shirt, a red towel, something colored in red. If you see something red, you know that building is booby trapped. So you have either when you come into the building, you have an IOD, or you get shaft inside, or something is going on inside.
How do they booby trap it? I heard some people say that there are, for example, they just
it's amazing. They put it in the, so if you can lean against the wall, and the wall itself is not a wall, but how do you call the thing that hold the doors?
The frame.
The frame of the door. Yeah,
the frame is booby trap.
Could be booby trap. They found, because we need to go through houses. So one of the houses that you cannot go into doors. You cannot go into windows.
Why not?
Because they might be booby trapped. So what you do, you open a wall and you go through a wall. So one of the walls that they opened, they saw wires going through the walls. And they went through the wires and they understood that this building itself was built with explosive in the walls of it. And
when
family,
when
they built it, it was already built with explosive inside the wall. And family lived there from Tzuk Eitan, which 2014, till Charvot Barzel. Family lived inside that building, and nobody connected the wires. And when one of the D9s opened the wall for us to enter, so you can see the wires go through the wall.
So it's not like after the population gets moved out of the neighborhood, because we know that before the army goes into a neighborhood, the local people are told to move away, and then they might put explosive. You're saying that years before, when they're building the building itself, inside the infrastructure, they already prepare from 2014.
Yeah,
That's insane. How many buildings are booby trapped in some way or another?
It is hard to tell, because what happened is that this area was bombarded for 2 weeks straight without having no one getting near to it. So some of the houses that were booby trapped was exploded. Mm-hmm. Some of them was not able to explode, and some of them were not connected because the terrorists were not able to get to that area. But from what I know, is that they buried under highways, they buried 500 kilos of explosive, waiting for, if someday the Israeli army will invade, they will connect that explosive and try to kill as many Israelis as they can to prevent us from invading to Gaza. And people used to drive on that road. Day in, day out, people drive hundreds and thousands of cars, goes on a road that have 400 and 500 kilos of explosive underneath it.
So what's the difference between a civilian neighborhood and a combat zone? If before the Israeli invasion, You're saying that they built it as already a combat zone while people were still living there, day to day, their normal lives. So you cannot trust anything when you go there.
You cannot trust anything. You know, there is a sad story about it. It happened actually in Tzuk Eitan. Another special forces unit got in with the bomb squad unit, and the bomb squad unit felt that this building is not safe. They didn't have anything concrete to say, like, listen, we see this, we see that, but they felt something is wrong.
Yeah,
and they told the special forces unit, you cannot stay here. And the special forces unit decided to stay because it was in a strategic building. It was on a mountain, and you can see a lot of the area because the Gaza Strip from north to south is built from the 80 to the 40 and then to the beach. So you have a mountain, which called the 80 ridge, and then you have the 40 ridge, and then you have like the beach area.
Mountain or a hill?
It's a hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you really need to be in a higher ground in order to see everything around you. So that unit decided to stay there. And it was really Booby Trap. And I think at that event, 6 special forces unit died instantly, and a lot of them were injured in that area. And they call it, I don't know if you can say it, but the Son Maglan. So... yeah, the guys from the bomb squad, they didn't stay. They left the house, and they told them, we're not going to stay here. If you're going to stay here, it's under your responsibility.
Yeah.
And they did, and that happened. So it's a very sad story. And
other than buildings, other things are booby-trapped? You said roads, buildings. Are those the only things that you look out for?
Anything can be booby-trapped. From anywhere you have... shafts that people can come out from and shoot RPG at you and hide and go back into the tunnels, and you cannot follow them. But the thing is that, I find it surprised that people are surprised by the amount of cruelty that Hamas and their leader are demonstrating in that war and throughout the wars that we had, the operation that we had in Gaza before. Those people are not ideologies that want to live in peace. Gaza is not a city that has interest to flourish and that the population there will have a good life. No, it's a machine that squeezes money from the world. That is what it's all about. No one cares about the ideology. No one cares about territory.
When you say nobody cares, you mean...
that's the narrative.
Who give money to Gaza or the Gazans themselves?
The Gazatians themselves are a tool, are a pawns in a game that being played by the terror organization. They are themselves hostages. They are themselves being tortured and everything by the regime that this. Hamas regime that controlled Gaza for the last 2 decades. So these people are not ideologies. They don't care about the land. They don't care about the land at all. We gave them Gaza. We gave them 2006. We extracted all of our people. We gave them the land. They used that land to build tunnel and to shoot missiles at us from it. It's not a story about ideology and land, and it's not that. It's a story about how Yahya Sinwar, how Ismail Haniyeh, the terrorist that established Hamas 20-some years ago. We talked about where I'm from. My family is from Ashkelon. I was born and raised in the city of Ashkelon. That's how I know our common friends from. And Ismail Haniyeh was a painter. He used to paint walls. He worked for a constructor building.
Before
Before 2006,
Gaza, he was a painter.
Yeah, he used to work as a constructor building.
He wasn't a investor. He wasn't.
No. He was a simple worker, an employee.
Did he own the company of painting?
No, he didn't own anything. He owned barely his clothes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, used to go to the roadblocks, come to work in Israel, make a salary of a guy that paint walls in.
Didn't he just die with $4 billion?
Exactly, 20 years later. He used to earn a salary of an employee that comes from Gaza to work in Israel. That was his only money. And 20 years later, he had two things in his hand. One was a lot of Jewish people's blood on his hand. And the other thing was $4 billion. So it's not a story about ideology. This guy worked for 9 years in my hometown. There was an interview with his employer. And he said he was a very smart employee. He was very polite. He did what he was told. And then 20 years later, he killed so many people, which he had the opportunity to kill so many 9 years in Ashkelon. He killed no one. It's not a story about ideology. Those are mercenaries.
But that is at least what they say to the world. I mean, we know that the Gazans, they don't have sufficient with Gaza. I mean, 75% of Gazans are considered refugees because they don't see themselves as part of Gaza. They want to see themselves again as part of what they call Palestine, which is now Israel. So you're saying that they don't care about land. They want to... Is it the ideology of returning back to Israel? Or is it just for money? Which one do you think it is? For the leaders, I mean.
I don't think... Well, I'll tell you what. I think that the people of the Gazatians are being told lies, a lot of lies. And those lies are being told in their books when they're kids in the schools, in the kindergarten, and then they grow up to believe that we, the Jewish people, are responsible for everything that bad that goes on in their lives. It's our responsibility. We did it. It didn't happen because of something else. So this is what they are educated to think, which we know it is not true. And you can see that people don't see that around the world. But, Israel is a very strong country. We are a nation of warriors. You are a warrior, I'm a warrior. We are surrounded by our friends that are warrior, well-trained warrior with a lot of combat experience. I fought Israel wars since the late 90s. So that's more than 20 years of combat experience. And we can protest for what the German did to us in the Holocaust and go and kill Germans in Germany. But we don't do that. This is not the Jewish way. This is not who we are.
We made amends with Germany. We are okay with them now.
Yeah, we sell them weapons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we sell them.
I had no idea. We
sell them defense missiles. So yeah, we help them to defend themselves. I met the Chancellor of Germany. They put me, a well-trained warrior with more than 20 years of combat experience, next to the Chancellor of Germany that is in my reach. That's how much they are not afraid of us. That's how much they know that we will not do anything to harm them because this is not who we are.
This is not who we are.
I find it hard to believe if they take someone that is a well-trained terrorist from the Gaza Strip and they'll put him next to Benjamin Netanyahu. That's something that will never happen because they know that he will do anything that in his power to hurt that man. So that's how the world is different. And, they try to tell stories that we kill kids and we do that. That's just not true. This is not how the Israeli army. And I want to tell you something about what happened in the beginning of the war. In the beginning of the war, there were two old ladies that came with babies to one of Israeli armed vehicles, and they asked for help. And the Israeli soldiers wanted to help them. And then they moved, and someone shot an RPG between them and killed those soldiers. And apparently those babies were plastic babies. So those are terrorists using civilian population in the most cruel way imaginable. I don't think there is something similar to that maybe in Africa, where no one is looking. And this level of cruelty is unprecedented. You can look what they did on October 7th. You can never say that we are this kind of people. We are not. We have values that are embedded in us. We serve those values as Israelis and as Jewish people. And this is something that I think the world is getting a different view on us, which is wrong and need to be remedied.
So if Hamas is using civilian infrastructure, civilian population, in this cruel way you're describing, how do you take any measures to try and, first of all, how can you differentiate between who is a combatant and who is not? And do you take measures to try to prevent civilian injuries, casualties? Is that something that you have to do?
Absolutely.
Like what, for example?
Absolutely. So we have areas that we come close where they have a lot of civilians, that we know that this is a civilian area. Even if we see a terrorist that come and attack us and go back to that civilian area, we are not allowed to chase him. We are not allowed to shoot him. We are not allowed to bomb this area. Even if we know where he is, we don't do that. And there are areas where you have like the Muasi on the south side, or the south side of Gaza City, all Gaza, and the center camps. So these areas, we don't go there because we know there are civilians there. And even, I'll tell you more than that. In Jabalia, we had a school that we knew there were terrorists inside. We saw them. But we couldn't attack this school because there were civilians inside. So what you try to do is you try to pull the terrorists outside.
How?
Well, we succeeded to do that with drones. We got drones close to the ground, and they went outside and they start shooting the drones. So if you have a weapon and a terrorist with a weapon inside a school, you're allowed to enter. So
it's a legitimate military target.
Yeah, by law of conflict. So as soon as they shot our drones, we saw them firing their weapon. We knew there is weapon inside. We got into the school, and we took 100 men. We took all the men to interrogation. And from those 100, we had 19 that are proven Hamas activists, terrorists.
Yes,
So, first of all, just so it will be sure, we took the men, 19 are not terrorists, 81 went back to their families. We didn't took them to captivity, and we didn't put them in Israeli jail. We took them back to their families. Those 19, they were terrorists that we know they are terrorists. One of them is Yahya Sinwar, his family member. Those people were under my supervision for the night. So I needed to take their 4 names, put it close to their ID, make them arrest warrant, because you cannot get them outside of the border with Gaza without having an arrest warrant. So everything is being committed by the law. You have to do it by the law. And more than that, one of the soldiers that came with the Humvees to pick those terrorists outside to Gaza, they spent the night in our building, which was next to the Indonesian hospital. And we were guarding them. We had them blindfold. We had handcuffs on their hands. Like you treat any other prisoner. Mm-hmm. And we were waiting for the Humvees to take. One of the people there, one of the terrorists told him something. And he wanted to attack this terrorist, and we stopped him. We told him, listen, as long as they're our prisoner, you cannot hit them. You cannot do anything. They will go to the military police. They will be interrogated. And this is how we work. We don't do it in any other way that people might think we do. We do it very, very organized, and we treat them like, I don't think that there are humans in the way we see humans. Mm-hmm. but we treat them.
But you have rules.
Yeah,
you have
we
to
treat
abide
them.
by.
Yeah, by the rules, like they're human beings, like you and I. You know,
It's interesting you say, because most of the stories that we hear and people outside of Israel hear is about how Gazans are being mistreated by IDF soldiers, how they're being beat up, and you're saying that there are some sort of rules that you have to abide by, even though you know this person is a terrorist, even though you don't know this person is Hamas.
I find it very hard to prove. You know, you look at the people that all the prisoners that you saw on the television. You saw them without clothes, so we can.
Yes.
We need them to take the clothes, so we see that they don't have bombs on them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see them almost naked.
Yes.
You don't see them beaten. You don't see them bleeding. You don't see any scars on them. Nobody treat them with violence. You can see that they're almost naked. Just look at those videos, and you will see that those people are not to be touched. We do not. To be an Israeli soldier, you have to work by certain rules. Otherwise, you lose the values that you serve.
Mm-hmm.
And we serve those values. If I'll see a terrorist, my skill against his skill, and good luck for him. But if I see someone that doesn't have weapon, it will be against everything that I believe to kill him. That will be by the set of values that I serve. That will be considered something else, even if it's done in war. Mm-hmm. So we don't do that, and we treat them. That's something that is probably not popular to say to cameras in podcast. But we treat them like they are prisoners of war, and we give them the what we are expected to give them. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's need to be heard, because I don't know what the world is thinking, but I assume that the narratives that are being fueled by vast amount of television funded by Hamas or organization.
Qatar, Iran.
Yeah. I'll tell you a different story. I've been 300 days in Gaza. That's not the truth. What I'm saying now is the truth. And I have a record of someone being truthful.
So the set of values you said, it's also, every single soldier that gets drafted to the IDF has like a little booklet of the values of the IDF. But other than values, is there any checks and balances by your officials or by anybody that checks that if you do something, you will be punished, something will happen? Or is it only your inner values? Like if you go over the rules, what can happen?
You saw now that the second commander of a Golani brigade was kicked out of the army. By the way, we speak in English, so this guy left his business in the United States, came here, drafted, because his friend got wounded, so he changed him in duty, and now he's the vice manager or the vice commander of Golani Brigade. Mm-hmm. And he mistreated, he didn't mistreat it, but he did a mistake. And I'm talking about this, what happened in Rafah. And he misjudged a military force that was combined with what later has been told as paramedics or medical.
Oh, the story with the
medical
15 paramedics.
Yeah. And
I think most of us heard the story.
Yeah. So, it's a sad story. This does not represent who we are. It's a sad story. I'm sorry for the medical team.
I think it's impossible. We've been almost 2 years inside of Gaza, and we have seen on October 7th...
They should not have been with those terrorists in the same vehicles.
Oh, so there were terrorists in
there were 6 terrorists. It was like 15 people in total. And it was terrorists with AK-47s. You cannot treat someone with AK-47. You need different tools to do that. So they had AK-47 with them. So you have 15 people 6 of them had AK-47, which says for sure that they are terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happened in that night, but they decided to tell that commander from Golani to go home. A well-decorated soldier, a well-trained warrior. And so if you ask me if there is punishment for mistakes, there are punishment for mistakes.
So no matter if you're a simple soldier or you are the commander of Golani,
Yeah, they kicked him from the army. Yeah.
They kicked them out from the army.
Yeah, they kicked him from the army.
I don't know if we can say this about any other.
For a mistake.
army.
It's not something that they did on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And there were terrorists among those 15 people. So they kicked him. And I don't know if it was kicked because what they did, but because of the way they reported it. I think there was something in the way that they reported it that made a crack in the story, and that was enough.
Had no lights, and then like video came out, and there were lights. So somebody in the chain of command said something that was not true.
Yeah, and that was enough to send him home. So,
talking about commanders,
and I want to say something else
ahead.
about it. We are the Jewish people. We have. It's a big understatement to say that we have been mistreated by the world.
Yes,
thousands of years back. It's time for us to stop giving a damn about what the world thinks. You don't want your people to get killed? Don't mess with us. That's enough. We had enough in thousands of years, and the Egyptian has tried to kill us and killed every firstborn until the Nazis, Germany. And then when we came to Israel, all 7 countries came to attack us. And it's been going on like that for years. You don't want us, Jewish people, to kill other people? It's okay, don't attack us. Stop attacking us, we will not do that. But you cannot expect us to always be on the victim side.
Mm-hmm.
No one, we are human beings, we are all the same. No one will tolerate this amount of violence against these people. I remember General Kochavi, Chief of Staff, Kochavi talking with a general, an American general, and he explained to him why it takes so long for us to go from a building to a building, because we don't want to kill civilian populations. So what we do, we go through walls, and it takes time to go from a building to a building. And he asked the American general, would you do it any other way? He said, yeah, we were first, we will flatten everything down. And then we just drove there. So we are...
Like in Mosul, for example.
Yeah. So we are being measured by different standards than other armies. I invite people to do the statistic and to see how we do the things and how they do it.
Yeah, we take a lot of precautions. You talked about us being the victims. I think we got out of Gaza in 2004, right? 2005. I think on September 12th was the date where the last Israeli men or women got out of Gaza. On that same evening, 2 rockets were fired from Gaza.
Yeah.
The same day. And I think no other nation would take so much violence towards them and just wait, which is insane. So all these precautions that you take, that you told me Kochavi took and the army takes to try to prevent destruction as much as we can, do you think it costs Israeli lives, like IDF lives?
Absolutely.
Do you think that's correct? Do you think there are some precautions that we should not... Do you think we take over precautions? Do you think the precautions we take are worth it? Are we achieving our goals? So you have a lot of experience. I'm guessing there are the good... it's a balance. The good part of these precautions and the bad parts. Are they costing too much Israeli lives? Is it somewhere in the middle? What is your personal opinion?
Well, Even one, it's too many. If you attack Israel from a civilian area, you should take under consideration the whatever will come next, and yeah, it's too much. I think that what we're doing now in Gaza, there are many Israelis, many warriors that were killed because of those precautions, because of those, they limited our range of opportunities of what we can do when you're being shot at. If it's civilian population, even if someone with AK-47 shoots at you from a civilian population, and you're not sure that you take his life with one bullet, you're not allowed to fire at him. That's how much our hands were tied, and we couldn't react. And I think the way this war is being fought will change that situation. Thinking about those people as people that want to live in peace with someone is being blind to what's going on in the world. It's been a long time that the extreme Islam is not a problem of the Jewish people. It's not our problems. It's not because of Gaza, not because of the settlements. It's not because of, 48 or 67, who cares?
It was the same before.
Yeah, it was the same before, and it will be the same. And now it's spreaded to Europe. Now there was a terror attack in Canada. What the Canadian have to do with the settlements in next to Jerusalem? So it's a story. Those people are violence and extreme Islam. The Islam people, they have 1.3 billion people. They're talking about 15 to 20% of them being extreme Islam, which means there are people that are armed and dangerous. People that have intention to kill and being killed with their intentions. So they don't mind losing their life in order to commit their jihad on people that have done nothing wrong. On the contrary, the settlements around the Gaza. Those people was very pro-Gazatians. Very pro-Gazatian. Be'eri.
The kibbutzim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Be'eri kibbutz, it was the people over there. They had an NGO that used to take Gazatian people to hospital in Israel. And that's how they remember them. They were so brutal on what they did in Be'eri more than any other kibbutz, I think, in that area. That's how much they care about people that care about them. Those are different people. They don't serve the same values as you and me and as most of the world. And that thing should be confronted with open eyes and not be afraid to say it to their faces, that violence will not be tolerated, not by words and not by action. Mm-hmm. And those not only their means, but their weapons and their intentions should be denied from them in any cost. And I see that around the world. It's not our problem. The terror of Hamas is terror of someone else in other place in the world. And it started in Israel, but it spreads around the world. And those people, this is what they know, this is how they act. And it's not an argument about settlements or the 67 borderlines, something like that. It will never end until we'll confront that threat, front on, to face it with no shame, to tell them, you are people that they are danger to the world peace, to the population of the world. This cannot be, you can see Boko Haram, which is the same. So extreme Islam is something, it's like a tumor that need to be extracted from that world. And
No, it is. I mean, you're right. Extreme Islam is, I think, as of today, 2025, the most missionary religion in the world. I mean, you have a lot of missionary religions like Christianity, like Islam. You have some non-missionary religions like the Jews. We don't want to expand Judaism. The Druze, for example, they don't want to expand. We just want to do our own thing. And Islam right now, the extreme Islam, is the religion that is trying the most means to expand everywhere. Like you said, we have right now in India, Pakistanis that went in and did a terror attack, killed 22 people. They went to the park, asked them to take down their pants to see if they're circumcised, asked them to repeat verses of the Quran. They didn't know, so just murdered everybody who was not Islam. You had in Africa, Islamists just basically massacring Christians. You have in Syria, Islamists massacring everybody who's not like them, the Jews, the Alawites. You have in Europe terrorist attacks. You had one of the most famous terrorist attacks in the United States, 9/11. But for some reason, people think that all of those are very different than what's happening in Israel. All of those are extreme Islam, but in Israel, it's a whole different story. In Israel, no, it's because Israel is doing the settlements or 1948, the Nakba, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's one of the best proofs of how Qatar, Iran, and the Palestinian movement have had the best advertisement, the best media approach, the best media manipulation in the world, the best propaganda in the world, to try to differentiate themselves other than those. But it's a whole subject. Another story you told me is that after you finished in northern Gaza, you went to the Lebanon border, and then you came back to Gaza and you went to Rafah. And in Rafah, you were in the battle when they eliminated Sinwar. Can you tell me about that?
Well, we didn't know it was him. Well, actually, we were almost the last one to know it was him. I'll tell you how. So we were if you go down the border, so the border with Gaza goes with the beach line with Gaza goes like this. So if you look at the Mediterranean Sea on Rafah, you're not looking west like you do in Israel. It's actually north. So we were at the Saudian neighborhood, which is almost the most northern neighborhood in Gaza. North to that, there is a area named El Naade. El Naade is a small village. It used to be the Swedish village back in the days. And we found in El Naade a training and fighting compound of Hamas. We recognized it the day before with drones, and we ordered a airstrike in the next morning. And then we prepared our troops. So we have infantries coming from the west. We had a bomb squad coming from the south, and we have tanks coming from the east. The idea was that the infantries would go inside, clean the area, see that there are no more terrorists inside. The bomb squad will booby trap the entire area and explode it, so they will not be able to use it anymore, and the tanks will cover the entire attack. So the airstrike came. It was about, I think, 10 in the morning. No, it was later than that. But so we did the attack, and during the attack, we hear that behind us they found terrorists. It was maybe 2, 3 in the afternoon. They found terrorists behind us. This group of soldiers in training saw terrorists somewhere a mile on the south side of us. That shouldn't matter a lot to us because we are operating on a different area. But a few minutes later, we heard that one of the soldiers got shot. And apparently he shot one of the terrorists, and the terrorist shot him back. They told us to take our drones and to supervise the evacuation of that soldier. So we flew our drones back to that area, And also the tank and the infantry, they went back from the attack. We stopped the attack at that moment. And the tanks started to drive fast to that area when they found the terrorists. The guy is a Druzen soldier, a really hero Druzen soldier, a young one. I met him months afterwards. Really proud Israeli Druze. And he got shot, a bullet that came from his back and got out from his stomach, just underneath his heart. So he almost died at the helicopter, and he barely got to the hospital alive.
And he is alive today with us.
He's alive, he's alive. Really. So we extracted the attack from there. We took our drones, and on the way back from the helicopter evacuation, the force that was there, 450, they told us, listen, we cannot find the terrorists. Can you stop with your drones on your way back and help us to look for the terrorists inside the buildings because we cannot find them anymore? And we started to look with our, we have bigger drones that have bigger cameras. And as soon as we start looking for the terrorists inside the buildings, some high-ranked officer came to our building. He opened the door. He said, I need now your guys with the small drones to look inside the buildings. We have small drones that go inside. We took the bags of the drones. Me and 3 other guys took a Humvee and drove as fast as we could to that area that the terrorists were last seen. We got there. As soon as we got there, they saw a terrorist in one of the buildings. So they asked the tank to shoot a bombshell to that building. And then one of the soldiers got the drone inside. They saw that that terrorist was still wounded. They decided to shoot some a 50 caliber into that second floor and to kill him. We went through the building, and to the building behind it, we found another terrorist. This terrorist had money and passport. He was also taken down, and the money and the passport went to the intelligence forces, and we went back to our compound, which was northern side. So fast forward. The day after, 10 a.m., we restart our strike on that compound, and we finish it, and all the soldiers come back, and I see this high-rank officer coming back to our compound, and he told me, where are the soldiers? I said, we just finished the attack. They need some time off. He told me, no, you call them. Okay, it was maybe, I think, 3 in the afternoon. And I called them, and remember, one of the guy came from outside. He said, why do you call us now? Why did we eliminate Sinwar or something like that? And the high-ranked officer smiled, and it was a wild guess, And he said, so the first terrorist that you found and was killed by that 05 caliber was Yahya Sinwar. And we actually found him because the passports, the passports and the money that were found on the second terrorist led us to understand that this terrorist was the closest person to Sinwar. So we looked who was the first terrorist that you guys killed. And that's how we found it. It was Sinwar. We didn't know. Oh, wow. Nobody knew. Yeah, nobody knew.
It was just for you, another terrorist in another building. You didn't recognize that he has a very recognizable face.
Nobody got close to him. We saw him on the second floor building. Mm-hmm. He was hiding there. So that's it.
How was the moment that you recognized it was Sinwar?
Actually, the day after, they sent a force to see who was that terrorist because they saw the passports, the money, and the guy itself that he was a close guy to Sinwar. So they sent a force tomorrow morning, I think in the morning, and you can see the guy coming behind the wall. You can see already Sinwar's body is cold under the rebels. and he gives him a couple shots in the cold body, and they go and they take a picture of his face, and they can see him.
So Sinwar, he was with passports on him. He was trying to
The guy
escape
that
from
was
Gaza?
with him, it was the second tourist that we took off, and I took
Do you
away.
think they were trying to escape? I mean, they were in Rafah. They were trying to get away from the border, or
You need to understand how Rafah looked at that time. So Rafah, you have a lot of like quarry kind of digs in the ground. You have digs in the ground that go 60, 70 meters deep.
like those tunnels?
Yeah, it's a small tunnel that you dig it out, and with time it looks like a quarry. Like you have all that sand around it,
Yeah.
which becomes like small mountains of sand, and then you go into the tunnel. Then you have trucks that can drive inside, and along the Philadelphia road, you have drilling machines that drill to the ground to see if they strike an air tunnel, so it's a tunnel.
Our drilling machines, not theirs.
Our drilling machine. So, looking at the equipment that they had and what they were carrying, you can assume that they got to this area in order to run away to Egypt and from Egypt, I don't know, probably to Iran or something else. So
for sure, you know he was trying to escape.
yeah, he was running. He was a rat, and he stayed a rat, and he's tried to run to Egypt and to run for his life. I know
He left his wife behind.
we don't know anything about it. Yeah,
This man, I mean, he died just like any other terrorist and nobody cared. This man is in charge for
small
so
people
much.
with big names. That's the story. They're small people. They're nothing. He's an archi-terrorist. He's psychopath. It's like given the Mention family. There is a Mention family in a story about
a mansion.
no, like there is a Manson family. Maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There is the Manson family.
Yeah.
So you give the Manson family from the United States an organization and money. That's who this guy. Yeah. It's they're cruel in levels. You see all these photos. You see him holding a baby. That baby, he doesn't hold him because he loves him. He holds him so no one will take his life. That's the reason that he goes everywhere with a kid on his arm. He's not a kid lover. This kid is a human shield, so we will not kill him, or someone else will not kill him. That's how cool these people are.
Yeah. Yahya Sinwar has a lot of blood in his hand. I mean, people don't know that his nickname is the Butcher of Khan Younis, not because he killed Israelis in Khan Younis, but because he killed his own people, Palestinians in Khan Younis. He used to slit their throats on top of the sink, right? The Fatah members back in 2005 and 6. And he was in Israeli jail, not because something he did to Israelis, but because he killed Palestinians. That man was a murderer, and he was. We talked about Ismail Haniyeh and the amount of money he has and the ideology. Do you think Sinwar had more ideology, or was he just also for money? What was his motivation to do what he did?
I think he's a psychopath that someone recognized, because there is a sentence that says, where the law is weak, the strong is the law. So if you have an organization and you're looking for those kind of skill, this is the person that you will hire. So that organization is looking for murderers, people that will murder in cold blood, no matter what. And if you have those kind of skill, this is the organization for you. You will flourish in that kind of an organization if you are a psychopath.
Yeah.
And he's a psychopath. No human being that holds values, love in his life can do what he did. A horrible human being, and I'm glad that we took him out. I feel lucky to be the closest person to the building that he was shot at, and when he was shot at, if I knew, I would have gone there, put a leg on his neck, and but I didn't know that, and it's not he
deserved worse.
Yeah, he deserved worse. He they're...
Do you feel that also that kind of malevolent or psychopathic behavior goes down in the ranks? Did you feel that on the day-to-day battles in Gaza? These, like you said, evil tactics. You talked before about the two women with the babies. Did you feel these kind of tactics being used on a daily or weekly basis inside of Gaza with the normal interactions, התקלויות, with the Hamas or PIJ terrorists?
I see that the Hamas, in the deal that they release hostages, they wear this uniform, and you can see that the uniform are brand new. Like you can see them with the green thing on their head and the face mask, and all the uniforms are really nice and neat and clean. They don't use that uniform. They wear civilian clothes. When they fight, they wear only civilian clothes. So if you kill them, they will say that you killed a civilian. They don't fight with those uniforms. Those are uniforms that sit in a closet or wherever. They fight with civilian clothes, so you will not know who is a civilian and who is not. So they can shoot you with an RPG on one side of the building and go on the other side of the building with their hands up. And you do not know if that's a soldier, a terrorist, or not, because he's not wearing uniform. He's wearing sandals and a jeans. And so
they own uniforms. They just don't wear them when they're fighting.
Of course they have. Yeah, they have uniform. They don't use it. It's a part of their tactics. Because they know that we hold values in our arms. And if you will see someone that goes out with his hand up, his hands up, you will not cold blood shoot him, because so they do that. They shoot you an RPG and they comes out with their hands up on the other side. So yeah, they use this tactic all the time. And when
it's very common.
No one fights with uniforms.
No one fights with uniforms?
As much as we see, no. You see them only in civilian clothes, and if they do, they might come up from the tunnel, shoot something, and go back. But the terrorists that we saw
were on civilian clothes.
Yeah.
It's amazing how we have international laws of war, the Geneva Convention, and like you said, our values that are meant for try to minimize as much as you can civilian or non-combatant death and injury, just in case if when you're fighting you suddenly come into a civilian place, you try to prevent it. But it feels like Hamas took all of these laws of war and back engineered them to have the most civilian injuries and casualties that you can. It's genius. It's an evil genius. Why would people... Right now I heard that in the past 2 months, Hamas has recruited 40,000 more soldiers. Why would a civilian want to get recruited to Hamas, even before the war? What does Hamas give them? What do they get out of Hamas?
It doesn't. It's not work like that. It's not that they recruit on like we are being recruited, come save your country and your people. Not that way. It's they take their wives and children, and they tell them, okay, we hold them now. You are now a part of the Hamas force, and if not, we're going to kill them. So they take their families hostages in order to recruit them. They're not being recruited because they want to fight Hamas. They have no other choice. And it's a story that we heard in Rafah, that families that hold, I cannot exactly say what, but terrorists that have assets that are in our interests. Their wives were taken to a mosque in Rafah and were being raped by Hamas terrorists. Those are Hamas members and those are Hamas members. And the Hamas terrorists send these photos, videos to those Hamas members and told them, we have your wives now. And from their perspective, being raped, it means you own that person that now, like animals. And they told him, if you don't do what we tell you, if you surrender, if you do something else than what we tell you, the next video that we'll send you will be your wife head decapitated. So this is the level of cruelty that are being executed among the member of this organization. So this is how these people work. There is no ideology. There is no recruiting. You can be either recruit or you or your family will be dead. So they don't have money or something to pay them. They do it by force.
So the higher ranks use terrorism
exactly
against the low ranks.
Yeah.
And the higher ranks are just living their life peacefully?
Well, they have a military around them.
That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, I know from people who are inside of Gaza that you have the higher ranking officers' neighborhoods, and then you have the rest of Gaza. You have the big mansions. In the beginning of the war, we saw they have
unbelievable. You know, I entered
difference?
Villas. It looks like Brentwood, Beverly Hills.
Oh wow!
Amazing villas with granite that was from probably a quarry in Italy. That beautiful, amazing granites I never saw in Israel. Those kind of stones, pools, very expensive dishes. Everything. You can see a high end inside Gaza that you walk less than a mile from that house and people live in an unfinished 2-story building with sand outside and a donkey tied out in order for them to go from one point to another. Those people have a lot of money living next to people that has not enough money for food. So the amount of corruption, it's not corruption, it's the way this institution is built, you know. So, but it is in our world, it's corruption. The way that they distribute the money, it's unbelievable. They have, I think, 26 or 30 hospitals on an area roughly the size of Tel Aviv and a bit more than that. That's how much, and we have a couple.
It's an insane amount of hospitals.
Insane amount of hospitals. Insane, unbelievable. And those hospitals, I've been in a few of them. They are brand new. You can go inside and you can see the X-ray machine, the CT machine, the machines that you see in a normal hospital. They see all in boxes, still new. Nobody intended to use them. They buy it, they get it, as a donation, whatever, and they sell it afterwards. This is how it works. And
so what is the hospital for?
To get money to Gaza. This is how they get donation into Gaza. They get donation to operate the hospital. They get donation to pay salaries to doctors. They get donation to operate everything. But they never use it. The money goes to the Ismail Haniyeh family, to the Yasser Arafat family, to the families of the high ranks in the organization. This is how they get the money.
That explains how a painter can become a billionaire in
20 years. It means someone paid him a quarter of $1 million. I'm sorry, $250 million. You know, every year.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I don't know about the math, but it's insane. So, by the system that Hamas, which was elected by the Gazans, created in Gaza, only if you serve Hamas and you get to a higher ranking, that's the only and main way that you can live a good life in Gaza. Everybody else, they don't care. So, I mean, most of what we see from Gaza is the poor Gazans that have no food, they have no nothing. And you see right next to them these huge mansions. So that is the only way that you can live a good life in Gaza. If you join Hamas or join is the Palestinian Islamic Jihad the same, or is it a totally different organization?
Those are different organizations being funded sometimes by different countries. So they have their own militia inside the area, so they can communicate with the ground. But if you want to look at it in a country more perspective, look at North Korea. That's the same model of North Korea. It looks like everybody likes the Kim Jong-un, right? Mm-hmm. You know exactly what's going on there. So if you let that develop, it will become something like that. And the problem with them is that the religion of the North Korean is not a religion that will push them to jihad. If they would, if they would, but they're not. So looking at the Gaza structure, it's a terror organization that have a country. It's not a country that has a terror organization in it. So it's a terror organization that have a terror country. Gaza is built like a terror country. Look at the tunnels. Look at the amount of missiles that are everywhere.
And are the hospitals that you said are actually being used for terrorism?
Not only hospitals, by schools. We went into schools, and you see that on the basements of the schools, you have a fighting equipment. So you have AK-47s, your RPGs inside schools in Gaza. So they use those schools because they know we will not attack schools. They use those schools as shelter for terrorists. It's not something that is not common. It's everywhere. Everywhere.
Is it actually everywhere?
Everywhere. They fight from schools and they use schools to put weapon inside, to hide inside. You can see whatever is written on the walls inside.
The schools that are evacuated or not even
evacuated. The area that we went.
Yeah.
If you have schools with people inside, we do not go inside.
What's written in the walls? You said in the school it's written in the walls.
So you have what they educate the kids to. They educate them for terror. So they grow as terrorists since they're kids. They train them how to kill an Israeli soldier. You never see that on TV. So you see little kids wearing the Hamas thing on their head, and they train them how to slaughter a Jewish guy. So you take the knife, you do it like this. They explain to them how to kill Israelis and how killing as many Israelis will sacred the cause of the Islamic people or the people of, Gaza. Horrible, horrible thing, I cannot imagine what will happen if a big country like United States will educate one generation to do what they do. You have a third world war that will finish the globe.
Well, that's what basically happened in Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. You had a whole generation being taught those kinds of things, which is insane. I mean, I went on tours from the Israeli intelligence, and they showed us things that they got out of Gaza. They showed us booklets for kids in primary school. Exactly what you're saying. They teach that their best future, the best thing they can do to honor their family and everybody is to kill Jews. But I mean, hearing it from somebody who's been there is a whole different thing. I can see videos until tomorrow, but you actually saw the things.
I actually have been in those schools.
Yeah. Do you see similar things in the civilian buildings? We're talking about schools and hospitals.
Yeah, we found Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf?
Mein Kampf book in the building.
Is it common, or did you find like one?
I found one.
You found one?
Yeah, I don't know about more than that. It was actually in the next week. So I told you we had two teams, Recon and Observation. So we took over a couple building that had an observation, so we can use it. And the next building to us was the Recon team, and actually they were the one that found it. It was amazing to see it. It's not something that you would think you'll find in a common house. We found a lot of equipment that you can see that they poison the mind of the kids over there in ways that you would not imagine to do that to.
Can you tell me what you found, or?
Some of it I'm not really sure I can, because it was found in
Okay.
But yeah.
We can move on to another subject. So let me know if this is something you can talk about. You talked to me that you were in operations or you were close to in operations that hostages were found. Not alive ones, but hostages were found. And you told me that we know where most of the hostages are. And we could do more. So, first of all, do you think the army, I'm not going to talk about politics, I'm going to talk about Israel, the army itself, do you think that what we're doing right now is enough? Like, do you think if we're talking just military operations, is it possible to rescue the 59 hostages we have left?
So the hostages, it's a very painful subject. Well, it is not understandable to me how after so long we haven't found a way to extract them. It has been too long. And, Muhammad Def is dead. Yahya Sinwar is dead. Most of the organization is dead. Who holds them? There is only one person that I think that will be as cruel in that way, and this is Muhammad Sinwar, the brother of Yahya Sinwar. So back in, I think, April 2024, we were on the western side of Khan Yunis. And there was a terrorist that confessed, that said he buried a body somewhere. So we went there, took a part of the body's shirt. We checked, it had blood on it, so it was dry blood and it was buried in sand. We took it to examination and we found out that there is a DNA of one of our people. So we did an operation to take the body out, and we brought it to Israel. And
who was it?
I don't know if I can tell you.
Okay, no worries.
A month and a half, maybe a couple months later, I was in Jabalia. As I told you, we have a lot of creeks going into that river of Metro. And there were two groups of bodies, 4 and 3 bodies of Israelis that we took to the Israeli border, made sure that there was Israelis, and those bodies were brought back to Israel, and also hostages. But I fail to understand how we have not found a way to extract, using a military operation or any other mean, to bring back the hostages, the dead and the alive one. I assume not all the dead ones will be back. Some of them probably are lost, and we will not know where they were. I hope that they will be found. But I think the ones that are alive, and we know that they're alive, it's beyond my understanding.
What are the complications for extracting them?
I think they use them as human shields, as guarantees for those terrorists to get out from Gaza alive. They use them till now as a psychological terror to the families. Some of them have the phones of their families, and they send them the videos to the father or the mother. This is unbelievable cruelty. Mm-hmm. And these people, they don't want to bring back the hostages. They want to use them as guarantee for them to get out from Gaza or to do something. But you need to understand that almost half of the Gaza Strip till now, we're in May 2025. Half of the Gaza Strip are not being, the army hasn't been there yet. So,
Really?
yeah. So if you go from the south side of the Gaza city, the old city of Gaza, all the way to Dir el-Balach, which is the southern camp on the campsite. So in the center camp. So it's actually the north side of Khan Yunis. So all this area, except from Operation Arnon in the middle of the camp area, Nosrat, all this area has no military inside. No one has been there yet.
In the past almost 2 years, nobody has been there?
Nobody has been there.
Why?
This is area full with civilians, and it's not the complex combat area. I cannot tell you why, but probably most of the hostages that left are there. This is how they extracted the Nosrat operation, which brought back the hostages. But
we saw the videos. That was insane. I don't know how somebody can manage under so much fire. It's insane that people who actually go through those operations. No, I know that Hamas has no interest in giving back the hostages. I think since the beginning we knew that whatever we try to do, let's say diplomatically, they will hold at least some until the end of time if it's depending on them. They have no interest in bringing back all of them, no matter what they say. But do you know what are the physical complications? Like we heard, because there's a lot of rumors, maybe they have explosives on them, maybe they have people. Like in your opinion, knowing what you know and knowing the army's capabilities, do you think it's possible to extract militarily the live hostages left?
The ones that are I think that after 2 years, we should have had a solution for that. The solutions are, for us, we have a lot. It could be, I am not sure that there are a lot of ways to get to those people. And I think that we should have found the way to do it until now. And operation-wise, we extracted only using our non-operation. I don't remember any live hostages. Maybe 2 of them, again, that were if I'm not mistaken, in Rafah.
Arnon is the Noah Gamani operation.
Yeah. So we should have found by now the way to do it. And it is a failure, no matter how you look at it. We extracted a lot of live hostages, and the ones that are alive stayed alive, and that's good. But there is no better way to say it. We failed. We're failing still in not bringing those hostages alive or as soon as we can back home to their families. This is absolutely failure. I don't know how we couldn't have found a way to do it, but it should have been done a long time ago.
I agree.
And I don't know. From what I know, they're probably either deep in the tunnels that will take. And even then, there are ways to get to them. And I'm hoping that we'll do that soon, because my heart goes out for those hostages and their families. I met personally the Horn family. Yair Oren and myself met on the first night that he went out from the captivity. I met Isham Assaid and Avera Mengistu. I spent time with all 3 of them, a long period of time. I was one of the first people that the Hohen family and Yair and Mengistu and Isham Assaid family met. I spent more than a week with all of them, the first week that they were in Israel. And we need to get to those hostages. I think one of the most emotional thing in the world that I had was 2 days after Avera Mengistu that was captured in 2014. He was 11 years in captivity of Hamas. And when he got out, I was in contact with the Ichilov hospital to make sure that they get all they need. And I remember on the second day that he went out, I got a call from one of the Ichilov hospital. And he told me, listen, Aver, I want to tell you something. And he took the phone. He said, Hanan, toda. And I was, I felt it to my spine. It's like something that, so, and Hisham Said and myself, I still in contact with the family. We need to get those hostages back. I'm happy that we got them back after so many years, but we need to get all of them back as soon as possible. We don't have time to waste.
I agree 100%. Okay. I think this is a good finish for this section. I think it's very heavy. So to close off, I wanted to ask you, because I know you have a lot of opinions of the day after in Gaza, the day after in Judea and Samaria, the day after in Lebanon, because we can just keep going the way we're going. This is not sustainable. This is not a way to live, not for the Gazans, not for Israelis, not for nobody. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people with a lot of opinions, but I would love to know your opinion as somebody who has seen things firsthand, as somebody who has experienced. You grew up in Ashkelon. You lived through the missiles coming from Gaza. Your family, you've been to Gaza like we talked now. What long-term solution do you see for this area?
So the solutions will have to be long-term solution. I think that
have a ceasefire.
You cannot have a ceasefire. You cannot have a live terror organization under Hudna of regaining force and weapon and means to hurt you again. So, from what I understand, let's start from the south. The Gaza Strip will be divided in half. The northern side, all the people that live in Gaza will be evacuated from that area.
Do you think it's possible to evacuate 2 million people?
I think it is possible. I think it is necessary.
And necessary?
It is possible. They cannot live in the northern side of the Gaza Strip. They cannot live on the south side of the Gaza Strip. And now we're going to enter the middle side of the Gaza Strip. That's the next operation. So these people are going to be evacuated from the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is going to be divided in half. The northern side will be owned by Israel, and Israel will take the debris from Gaza and rebuild that area. The south side will be taken over by Egypt, and Egypt will take out the debris and rebuild Gaza. I don't know how Gaza Strip will be rebuilt. Will be rebuilt as a city, maybe as an oasis, maybe an American solution like what happened with UK and Hong Kong, that the American will take over that territory, and that will be an American territory for the next 99 years. And then whatever will be the solution, when this will end, this area will be divided between Israel and Egypt. Mm-hmm. There will be no more independent area named Gaza or whatever it's been. It will be a border between Israel and Egypt, like the hundreds of miles of border that we have with Egypt that has no terror attacks from it. So we have a peace agreement with Egypt. It's a solid and good peace agreement, and it's important to maintain it. And I believe that Gaza will not be something that will be a burden on it. Mm-hmm. On the contrary, I think it will be a better way to collaborate with Egypt, and that will be the solution for Gaza. Egypt.
I think maybe the question that's most on most people's mind, talking about relocating 2 million people is not a small feat. Especially when we talked about, you said they are being held hostage by their government. So,
by the terror organization.
Exactly, by their terror organization. So do you think that if we manage to, I don't know, take out the militants, the terrorists, the organization, is I don't know how many people are left. I don't want to say a number because I don't know what percentages are.
A bit less than 2 million Gazatian. But if you look at Egypt is 111 million people. So you take 1.8 million people and you add and you spread them around Egypt, there will be, you cannot, it's nothing for Egypt.
You say as of right now, there's no way to save Gaza. There's no way to maintain Gaza as it is. It has to be...
Gaza will not be an independent entity that has its own government and his own... No, it didn't work. We tried that for many, many years. So either the Gazatian will be allowed to live wherever they want in the Isle of Sinai. You know, for me and you, if you want to go to Sinai, you just cross the border. If you want to go to Egypt, you need a visa for it.
Yes.
The same will be with the Gazatian. They will be allowed to choose to live wherever they want in half the Isle of Sinai, or they will deport it to different countries. Now I see the French has took tens of thousands of them already. So that will be the solution for Gaza. Gaza will not be an independent entity, neither a government, terror organization, or anything else. That has been tried over and over again, but I can say evil forces, terror organization, extreme Islam, whatever you want to call it, they took over it in a way that they use the people as human shield for the terror machines exporting terror to Israel.
One point that I'd like to add that I think reinforces what you're saying is that there is, like we said, the way of looking at it, there is a terrorist organization holding 2 million people hostage. If the 2 million people really were just being held hostage and they wanted to live peacefully with Israel and Egypt, why didn't 2 million people use Israel's war against Hamas to say, okay, now we have the chance to bring down Hamas. Let's join forces with Israel. They didn't because they don't want to.
It's not a matter of wanting, but a matter of what the real perspective that they get about the truth. You know, we are what they've been educated and being told for so many years is that is not what you and me know. Is what they're being told that everything bad is going on with them is because of us. So they're not really aware of reality. And if you look at polls that are being made, not only in Gaza, but on the West Bank as well, you can see that almost 80% of people that live in Gaza or people that live in the West Bank support October 7th. They think it was the right thing to do. That's how much their mind is twisted by this terror organization.
And do you think if Hamas wasn't in power, they would have a very different government? Let's say if they had a really diplomatically elected government that doesn't hold them hostage, do you think they would behave very differently?
Hamas?
No, let's say in Gaza, Hamas wasn't elected. There was somebody else. That's not Fatah and not Hamas.
Yeah, I think they're being funded by governments, by like Iran and Qatar, that their interest is to make the Mediterranean an unstable place. Their interest is, and they say it out loud, they say their interest is to eliminate the Zionist entity named Israel. They want to take it off the map. So they give them money so they will keep our borders not safe, ready for invasion, to the day that they will decide to do it. And it's been like that for years. We tried many, many things, and we tried almost everything possible. And we even gave them that land, and even gave them money, gave them weapons. They used it against us. Trying to do the same thing and hoping for different results will be a failure again. And I don't think that thing should happen. I think that what I just said, that will be the solution. That will be the solution, I believe, also for the West Bank. This territory that is being under dispute between the people that you call Palestinian and the Israelis and the world, that area will be a federation that is being controlled by Jordan and Israel. And the area that is not under dispute will be either Jordan or Israel. The people that live in this federation will be citizens of this federation, and they will have either a Jordanian passport or an Israeli passport, but identification of this area. They can move freely and do what they want, but they will be controlled either by joint force of Israeli and Jordanian.
You're talking about the areas A, for example?
I'm talking about it's less than it's not the 67 borderline.
Yeah,
it's much lesser than that.
Jenin, Ramallah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the settlements around it. Yeah. So all this area, you saw how it looks. You cannot make a border like this.
No.
You need to somehow find a solution for this entire area. Hopefully those people will be not being controlled by Fatah, which is also an organization that doesn't accept Israel's existence in any way, and still till today hasn't condemned October 7th. That's how much these people are vicious, and I believe that this will be the solution. So we will have a border on our east side of the country and a border on our south side of the country with countries that we have a peace agreement with, that are committed to our safety, committed to peace. And this will solve the violence that goes on in these two areas with those group of population that are being funded by organizations that are committed to not having peace, to spread violence and terror, not only in Israel, but throughout the Middle East and throughout the world.
So you're basically saying that the Palestinian movement identity has failed, basically.
Well, it's not failed, Look at us. We are all, if you look prior to 1948, we were all Jewish Palestinians. Golda Meir proudly showed her Palestinian passport.
Yeah, because that was an English mandate. It was an English passport, basically.
Yeah,
Yes.
You cannot invent history.
Of course.
There was never a Palestinian state. There was never a Palestinian people. And if there was a Palestinian people, we were a part of it.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm talking about the Palestinian movement that started in the late 50s, beginning of the 60s with Arafat. What we now know as Palestinians, not the English mandate. This new the Palestinian Liberation Organization that now is the PA, and also the people in Gaza that see themselves as Palestinians. So you're saying basically that movement, this new movement that started in the 50s, didn't work. These people are using this movement, this identity to try to erase Israel?
No, they can stay Palestinian if you want. Like 60 to 70% of Jordan are Palestinians.
Yeah, but they don't rule themselves.
They're Jordanian Palestinians.
Yeah,
but they are Palestinians. They call themselves Palestinians.
Yeah,
so
they don't rule themselves.
They will not rule themselves. That model has failed. Both in the West Bank and both in Gaza.
Yeah.
That model has failed because they have stronger forces that puppet control them.
Yeah.
That control them from top, and they use it using money and terror and messengers that goes there and that cannot work. We tried it. We tried it many times.
Yes,
it doesn't work, and it will not work. So those people will become like their Jordanian brothers, Palestinian. If they want to be Palestinian, Jordanian, they are more than welcome. They will vote for the Jordanian country or for that federation. It depends how it will be built. And we will have a peace agreement on the east side, West Bank, and we will have a peace agreement on the south side with Egypt. That's the solution I think that's not the best solution for us. I think it's the best solution for all three sides. So for Jordan, for the people that live in that area, and for us. It's the worst solution for the regime that try to control them and the government that fund this regime. But if you look at the people that live in that area, that's the best solution for them.
Because none of the regimes that they created has been good for them.
None of the regime that took over this area violently is good for them. And I think, look at the Israeli Arabic people.
Mm-hmm.
They live in peace. They live in prosperity. You look at Arabic people, not only Druze, but the people that live Arabic, that live here, nobody chases them. This is not an apartheid country. Whoever says that apartheid country never been to Israel.
Yeah.
You have a supreme judge. You have high rank commanders in the military, in the police. You have Arabic Israelis that serve in the intelligence forces of Israel.
That's true.
They are in the secrets of the secrets of the secrets of this country.
Mm-hmm.
They are in the Knesset. They are in the parliament. This is not an apartheid country. So, and we give a lot of respect. Look at Black Belt operation. Commander General M. I'm not sure if his name is allowed to say it still, but he's an Arabic. He's not Druze.
Mm-hmm.
He is not Druze, and he is in the special operation, a high-rank officer in the special operation that was killed in Gaza. What initiated Black Belt operation? He is a high-ranked officer. He's an Arabic.
Yes.
He is an Arabic Israeli that served under an Israeli flag inside Gaza. Not apartheid. You want to flourish, you want to succeed, you want to have a good life, you can be under our Israeli government and you will be taken care of. If you want to be a terror, you can go there, and as we said before, our skills get yours, and we'll see who will prevail.
I think what you're saying is a very interesting point. For the past 18 or 50 years, however you want to see it, we've had a controlled study. We have right now in 2025 3 areas. We have Israel, controlled entirely by Israelis. We have the West Bank, which is mixed. And then we have Gaza only by Palestinians. You see that Gaza became a launching pad to Israel, a terrorist base. We see that in Judea and Samaria, it's half and half. You see in like Jenin, Ramallah, Tulkarem, the places where are 8 areas, you have a very high activity of terrorism. And inside of Israel, which is 100% controlled by Israelis, Jews and Arabs live together. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there are problems. There are always problems because we are human, but nothing that is state-wise, nothing that is culture-wise.
There are social rights.
Exactly.
They have a full human rights.
Exactly.
They have full access to everything. They could be whomever they want. They could be terrorists, or they can choose to live like a human being on a very advanced Western country with advanced human rights. You have we don't hang gays, we don't shoot people on the streets, not like they do in their countries. Mm-hmm. It's sad to say it, but it needs to be said, like the other things that we said. And here you can be. Look at Amir Ohana, the chairman of the Knesset. We met a few times, Amir and I. He's a great man. He's gay. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. He lives his own life and he does amazing work. He was also officer at the Israeli intelligence services. So nobody cares. You can choose to be whomever you want. I lived in Jaffa for almost 10 years. I used to hear the mosque 5 times a day. Mm-hmm. Allahu Akbar, the mosque tower was next to me. I don't care. You can live, you can be whomever you are. You can be Muslim, you can be Hindu, you can be whatever, Christian. We don't care here in Israel. As long as you're looking to live in peace, you're looking for prosperity for you and your family, to good health. We have good health services here. Mm-hmm. So you can choose the life that we have, or you can choose to be something else. And I think that the life that we have here have a lot more to offer, not only for Arabic living in the Middle East, but people from around the world. They come here and they have a great time. We are now in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is one of the greatest cities in the world, next to London, next to New York.
I have a few issues with Tel Aviv, but you're right, 100% right.
People from you're from Spain, so you know that. It's amazing city.
It is
you can be whomever you want, whenever you want. And I think that this is, by the way, this will be the future of our country, that we will manage to show that it's not only happens in Tel Aviv, but it will happen across country. And for that I want to go to the northern border. Before Hezbollah or Amal was in Lebanon was a very Western country. Mm-hmm. You can go to Sidon, and you can on Beirut, you can have nightlife. I follow on Instagram a few clubs in Lebanon, and they have like amazing beaches, and they have nice parties over there. Like the Christian population.
The northern side is Beirut is still considered a very, after the explosion they have, not so much, but Beirut is still considered a very, very advanced city.
Yeah, you can see them. They live in peace with themselves. Mm-hmm. So they have a terror organization that has controlled this.
The southern part.
Yeah, the southern part and a part of the parliaments in order to manifest their agenda.
Yes.
And I think that this terror organization, which is a part of the tumor that started in Iran, will be extracted from the government. And now we can see slowly the sovereignty of Lebanon using its military to eliminate armed forces of Hezbollah. This is the beginning, but what will go on in the upcoming future is that Lebanon is a country that has very close relations with France. Under American supervision will be Abraham Accord with Israel. Israel will be committed to help them extract any terror developing in that country in general, and specifically the Hezbollah organization that has been embedded in that country for many, many years. We will help Lebanon to prevent any attacks on Israel and hopefully on Syria as well. And eventually we will have an Abraham Accord with Lebanon. Mm-hmm. We can also see now that the Syrian government
are trying to be part of the Abraham Accords.
They are talking out loud about Abraham Accord. Of course.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Giuliani was Al-Qaeda until, not too long ago.
Well,
it's a complicated subject.
Yeah, it's a complicated subject. I trust him.
You trust him?
I believe that Syria is going to be under a period of time of change. Mm-hmm. I believe that the northeast side will be given to the Kurds, and that the Kurds will have their own...
Like an independent state?
Yeah. But the Kurds are been hoping for many, many years. They will have their own government on the northeast side of Syria. I believe that the south side of Syria either will be that Israel will take the Druze mountain with the Druze on it, and the Druze will be united again, which is the right thing to do for the Druze population.
Amen.
And the rest of it will be Syria as we know it today. And I believe that Syria will have Abraham Accords. If you have a member of the Congress going to Syria and visiting there, you see that Syria is not a dangerous place for a Congress member of the United States.
That is true.
If we're talking about maybe meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, that's how this relationship with the Syrian government, the new regime in Syria, and the Western world are hitting roots. And I believe that if we'll water those roots with the right values, that would be a good thing for the Syrian people as well.
So you think the violence we're seeing now from Al-Julani's men is a changing? It's temporary. It's I think you said תקופת מעבר.
Time of transmission.
Time of transition. Or the violence that we're seeing from Al-Julani's men.
Erdogan?
No. The massacres we're seeing for the Alawites and the Druze for the past few weeks. Do you think that's going to change?
I think that this happened at the beginning, and I don't see it lately as much as I saw it at the beginning.
Okay.
I think this is something that goes inside Syria, and Syria will bleed from that until it will go away. Because what happened is that a small amount of people has controlled the majority.
Yes, the Alawites are
exactly
the control of people. Yes.
So, and it I think this will. I can understand the majority that is being controlled by a small group of people. They want now to retaliate after so many years, decades since the establishment of Syria, and I think that this will go away eventually, and they will find a way to live together. But that is an internal problem of themselves, within themselves. It's something that is not related to us. If you look at the anger that is towards Israel, towards the United States, it doesn't really exist. The Syrian government has for many, many years, has stopped being a threat to us, maybe not many, but maybe a little bit more than 30 years that the Syrian government is not a threat on Israel.
Yeah.
So they have internal problems. They will solve their internal problems or not. But the problems that they have with the outside world are not that big. Syria is a flourish ground to build on. Is something that you can build on. The new Syria that will be good for the Syrian people, that will have good relations with the countries around it, especially with Israel, hopefully with Lebanon, and it will be under American support, under Russian support.
Mm-hmm.
Syria,
Russian as well. Okay.
I think that people underestimate the deep relationships that we have with Russian people, and the Russian government. And I think we have very good relationships, much, much better than many people think with Russia. And I think Russia not only allow us to do whatever we want in Syria,
mm-hmm.
it's also supporting what we're doing over there. And I think that, Syria will also probably will have Abraham Accords. As for Yemen,
Yemen, yes.
Yemen is a big Gaza. So Yemen is being funded, the militia in Yemen, the Houthis, which became a 300,000 people army, is being funded by Iran for so many years. And Iran has put, I think, 30, maybe 50% of his investments to export terror in Yemen, and 50% around the Lebanon, Gaza, and the West Bank. And I think as soon as Yemen will be eliminated as a threat, not only to Israel but the countries around it, Iran will have a big problem. I have no concrete information for what I'm going to say next, but the weird death of the president of Iran crashing down with his helicopter
Mm-hmm.
after visiting,
Crazy, yes.
after visiting Azerbaijan, which is a very good country that have very good relationship with Israel.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he stopped in Azerbaijan to celebrate a new bridge being built there. And some reason his helicopter on his way back has crashed in the mountains. And now Benjamin Netanyahu is going to visit the Azerbaijan president, which is a good friend of ours.
Okay.
And we have very good relationship with them. So I believe it was one of the best assassinations in the history of intelligence services since.
So you think it was an assassination? You don't think it was?
Absolutely, absolutely. His helicopter didn't crash. It was taken down on a precise area, on a precise weather. For you to execute this kind of operation, you need to have all the things falling into place on the right time, and you need to take this. You need to do it swiftly and resolutely, as I say. You have to do it right here, right now, and you have to be very brave to know that this will not come back to you.
This is a one-in-a-lifetime moment.
Yeah,
that you have to take advantage of.
Yeah. It's like everything falls into place, so you know for sure that this assassination is going to work, and you know for sure that there is no leading something that will come back to you. You might guess it's me. You might believe it's me.
But you have no way to...
If you have no proof to prove that it was what we did, that we did it. So I think that all the conditions were right, and that was perfectly executed, and that is one of the best assassination. And you didn't have to wait years for that. He was the one that says, okay, you have a go to October 7th. And a few weeks before that, the Israeli government said that whomever took part on October 7th will pay the price, no matter who he is, no matter where he sits.
Yes.
So what I'm thinking is that attacking 190,000 centrifuge on many different sites underground of the Iranian regime, some of them you do not know where they are. You know it's inside a mountain, but you don't know if you get into the mountain, if it takes you right, a left, an up, or a down. So you don't really know where to attack some of the sites. Taking out all those sites, I think it will be easier to take off the regime, to kill Ali Khamenei and his extreme regime will be much easier than to change the regime. And I think it will be the right thing to do, not only for the area, but for the people of Iran that will finally get rid of that Ayatollah that pulled them down and back in time for so many years. And look at Iran when they got it.
We talked about Lebanon. Iran used to be a very modern place.
Yeah.
People used to walk around freely however they wanted. And now it's a very Sharia law Islamic regime.
Yeah. And the people want different. They want Western.
And the people of Iran always correct people from outside saying, this is not Iran. Don't say Iran did. Say the Islamic regime. They separate between the two because it has nothing to do one with another. So I 100% agree that taking down the Iran regime would be best for Iran and best for the Middle East, and I think the world as a result, because we know that Iran has their tentacles all over Europe, the United States education system, and many other places. So I think taking down the Iran regime would just do good for everybody.
And eventually, if you ask me to summarize the Middle East in a few sentences, that I say we have a great future for the Middle East, not only for the Israel, but I think, I think that from this war, good thing will happen for the people of Israel, but for the entire region, for entire people of Lebanon, the people that live in the West Bank, the Gazatians, the people in Yemen, the people in Syria, the Kurds, the Druze, and so many other countries. And we need to take out what those governments are doing bad for them people and for other people. And I hope and I believe in my heart that we have a bright future for the Middle East. Eventually, after so many hundreds of years, sometimes thousands of years, if you can look at that back, we'll have a future that is good for the people. And I believe that we will stop exporting terror from the Middle East to the world. And I believe that will be peace in the Middle East. For the first time, I see hope from the gravels of Rafah and Khan Yunis, and
we're seeing things starting to shift in the Middle East.
I see that there is hope for the Middle East. For the first time in my life, being born and raised here, I see that there is hope for the Middle East, and that war, that October 7th, this horrible event that happened to us will bring good news for a lot of people, not only for the people of Israel.
Amen. The operation that they intended to take us out was the first step for their downfall, basically. Hopefully, we can honor the people that lives were taken on October 7th by bringing peace to the Middle East.
Amen.
Amen. So just for a closer, because there are so many things that I could have talked about you, but we talked about so many things. You're a fascinating person that we can talk about for hours. So just tell a little bit about the project that you did for the soldiers with the barbecues. If you can explain, what have you built? Are you still doing it, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
Every single Tuesday.
This Tuesday is the Israeli Memorial Day. So we're not barbecuing.
Yeah. But before you say this
So
Tuesday,
that
what is
will
the
be
project?
the first Tuesday since the beginning of the project that we are not coming to visit the wounded soldiers in the hospital and do barbecue for them. And that points the commitment that we have for our wounded soldiers, brothers in arms. So I remember...
Explain about the project. What is the project you did?
I remember going out from Gaza after my first tour. My first tour was ended on January 7th. So exactly 3 months after the war has started. And I called my friend, who is a hero. And I called him from the border with Gaza. You know, you cannot use your phone inside Gaza. So you get out, you turn on the phone, and it was the first guy I called. And I said, his name is Naor. I said, Iluz, his last family name. What do you want? He said, what do you mean? I said, listen, I'm coming out from Gaza now. I'm coming to visit you. What do you want? He said, I have anything I need. It's okay. My family. I said, I didn't.
You came out of Gaza and you asked him, what does he want?
Yeah, because he was wounded in Gaza and he was hospitalized. So I went to visit. So when I went out from Gaza, I went to visit people that I met that are...
It just shows your character.
That were wounded in battles inside Gaza. And I called him and I said, what do you want? He said, I got everything I need for my family, the hospital. I said, I didn't ask what you need. I asked you what you want. Open your mind. What would you want? What the most thing you want? He said, I really miss a good steak. And I said, really? You miss a good steak? He said, okay. So I stopped on a butchery at Sderot. They have a great meat supplier there at Sderot, the Blue Cow, it's named. And I bought him the best steaks I could find, and I drove to the hospital. And he was still, connected to all this machine. He couldn't really eat that well, but he really missed that. I brought him the steak, and his family made him barbecue the same day. And I came to visit my friends that were wounded in battle in the hospital and the rehabilitation center since January 2024. And every time I got there, they all wanted the same thing. They look like they missed good barbecue. You know, we're Israelis. We love to barbecue.
We love barbecue.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I remember I used to come there, and I always said to myself, you know, I need to make barbecue here for everybody. So my mother, she was a nurse in the Yom Kippur War, and I asked her on her birthday, I said, do you mind, instead of having birthday in the middle of the war and like having family small, maybe we go to the hospital and we make barbecue for the soldiers. Mm-hmm. And my mother, you know, she has a great heart. She's the most amazing person, you know. And she of course, she said yes. And it was very emotional for us to go there. And I brought my wide family, like my uncles and everyone. And we made barbecue for the soldiers. And I thought maybe I'll come there once a month. And before, you know, we closed the barbecue, one of the soldiers come to me and he said, can you guys come next week? You know, we really had a good time. I said, you know, I'll not come once a month. I'll come next week. I'll see what happens. And we came next week. And the next week they told us, can you come next week? So we decided that we'll come every week. And we haven't missed one Tuesday since almost a year now.
Yeah.
That we come every Tuesday, no matter what happens. War, pandemic, whatever is going to happen, we are there for them. It's not only about the barbecue. We became friends. I take care of whatever they want. They get whatever they need from the hospital. But whatever they want, we take care of it. And just being there for them. So we come every Tuesday. I have almost 200 volunteers. And we do barbecue in all three rehabilitation center in Ichilov, Soroka, and Tel HaShomer. Mm-hmm. We feed around 300 wounded soldiers every week. No matter what we do, like in the army, everything divides in three. So we do 3 hospitals. We have 3 courses. It's Pagiot, Naknikiot, and prime rib.
Wow. Sounds good.
And we do it in the same hours on the same time. So it's between 1,800 hours to 2,100 hours, which divides in 3 as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So everything divides in 3. Nice. Yeah. So that's it's an amazing project.
That's an amazing project.
And you know, the soldiers, we are like a metronome for them. Every week they know Tuesday comes when they see us coming with the barbecue and the equipment, and they love it. And
yeah, it's not just the delicious food. It's also, like you're saying, mentally, it gives them an anchor, something to look forward to.
Yeah, we bring DJ and
really?
Yeah, we make it. We every week we celebrate for the guys that releases from the rehabilitation, that finish their rehabilitation and go back home or to day rehabilitation, which means they don't have to sleep in the hospital anymore. We celebrate their birthdays. So every week we have a different birthday. So the volunteers always volunteer to make a birthday cake.
Everybody over there is a volunteer.
My volunteer, we are all volunteers. Oh yeah, and and we take care of their whatever they need. We have one guy that support us almost from the beginning. His name is Leon Wagner. He's a philanthrope, and he helps us a lot. He helps us to buy the meat, and we find the best meat for them. And, you know, we don't find this prime rib that you can find. No, we find the best meat for them. And Argentinian big cows, fat cows, and they love it. And they, you know,
wow.
Yeah, so that brings them outside from the rooms, and you know, we're like one big happy family. And I remember a few times I had to go back to Gaza, and my unit now knows that I do Happy Tuesday for soldiers. Mm-hmm. So I had one time, you know, like I needed to get out, and they did like a special operation to take me out from Tel Sultan, outside, like so I can start like
wow.
COVID operation inside Gaza, like as long as I can get out and I come back a couple days later.
Oh, wow, that's
how
amazing.
Yeah, it has an amazing impact on the soldiers, and I'm really proud of our soldiers, and I have to say that I'm proud at the people that we are, the Israeli people, because I see there, one of the soldiers there, I told you that at the battle that we took out Sinwar, he was a Druzen soldier. Mm-hmm. He hospitalized in one of the hospitals and wanted to...
He was at the Happy Tuesdays as well?
Yeah, of course. Every week he come there. And the thing is that we have a story because he was the one that identified that terrorist and shot him. He shot Sinwar in the shoulder. And he was evacuated, and I was with the drone supervising his evacuation. And then I came to that area, and we found Sinwar. We took him out. We found the other terrorists. We took him out.
The famous footage of Sinwar is... You filmed it?
No, I didn't. It was taken the day after. Nobody saw Sinwar the night that we killed him.
No, yeah, but there's like a famous drone footage of Sinwar sitting in the chair, right?
No, that was 450. It's a different unit. There is a video. I'm so happy that there is a video. It was taken by one of my friends that where I stand next to the house where Sinwar is when they shot the shots that killed him right after the drone went out. Mm-hmm. But that Druzen soldier that identified Sinwar and wounded him, and we have a great story because he found him. We took him out. So that closed the circle, and we always sit next to each other, and we tell the story and said, I found Sinwar and I shot him, and I said, yeah, we found him and we took him out. So you have great soldiers, and the wounded soldier, they all have one thing in common that I recognize that really, really, I don't know how to say it, but I asked almost every one of them, if you'll get better, will you go back? And they'll say yes. They'll say, if I want to fight, if I could fight, I go back and fight again. They all want still fight for the people of Israel and for the state of Israel. And this is something that amazed me. Those kids, I'm in my late 40s. Mm-hmm. Those kids
are 19, 20-year-olds.
Unbelievable. They gave almost their life, but their bodies to Israel. And if they could, they would have done it again. And that's the spirit of our people that been through the Holocaust and came here to fight for our existence, that fought the wars of 48 and 56 and 67 and 73 and send their kids to the army. And people that have parents that died in wars and send the kids to the army. My father was a warrior. He fought in the canal, in Suez Canal in Egypt. And I fight in Gaza and other places. So we raise here generations of warriors that will do everything for the people of Israel and for the state of Israel. And it will always be like that from now on. And I can see that in the eyes of the wounded soldiers that fight in that rehabilitation process so they can go back and hold that rifle and defend our people, even if they risk their lives.
Amen.
Again and again. And it's amazing, and we are...
Resilience.
Yeah.
Amen. So, Hanan, thank you so much for everything you do outside of the front lines, in the front lines. Thank you so much for spending the time to come here and talk to me about all these things. I know it's not easy. So thank you so much for everything you did and everything you're still doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Heroes of Zion. The fact that you're here is already a step towards a better future, simply because we can now make better decisions that affect us all from a more knowledgeable position. If you enjoyed the episode and think it's worth a share, go ahead and send it to anyone who might be interested in knowing the truth on the ground. But what would help me the most is growing this mission, building a team so I can keep creating content like this more regularly and keep exposing the truth. And for that, I need your help. All the ways you can support are linked in the description below. Thank you for being part of this. Until next time, I'm Israel Chai.